Let me check. Hello. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Sandro Linux Community Podcast. It is the 29th of September 2023. And why don't we kick off with the first story? So, the Raspberry Pi 5 has been announced, and that is a kind of leading story today. So, the Raspberry Pi 5 has been announced after 4 years. It's been 4 years since the Raspberry Pi 4 was announced, and apparently the Raspberry Pi 4 sold 14 million units. So that's quite a lot of Raspberry Pis, and of course the Raspberry Pi is a very popular, very popular computer board. So yeah. But the Raspberry Pi 5 brings some new improvements. So, Raspberry Pi, the actual Raspberry Pi blog says it will be 2 to 3 times faster than the Raspberry Pi 4, delivering improved graphics performance. And this time they will apparently be using in-house silicon for the first time. So, of course, we will have to take this 2 to 3 times faster statistic with a pinch of salt, because this is coming from the Raspberry Pi company themselves. So, of course, sometimes companies don't provide the best statistics when it comes to improvements. So we'll have to see what benchmarks say when reviewers get their hands on these Raspberry Pis, and some proper benchmarking can take place. So one area where I don't think the Raspberry Pi 5 has improved that much is the memory, because you can only get 4 or 8 gigs of memory, 4 or 8 gigs of RAM, which is basically the same as the Raspberry Pi 4. So it's apparently at 2 times the bandwidth of the Pi 4. However, when it comes to the actual amount of RAM you can get, it stays the same as the 4. So that's a bit disappointing on that front, I guess.
Yeah. I was hoping for a bit more on the RAM.
Yeah, because like 16 gigs of RAM, I would be happy with that, but 8 gigs, I don't know. Maybe it's technically difficult to stick 16 gigs on, but I don't know if it is or not. But yeah. But let's hope that people can actually get these Raspberry Pis, given the recent supply shortages of Raspberry Pis, because for quite a while now, you haven't really been able to buy Raspberry Pis for a reasonable price. I mean, I don't know if that supply kind of shortage of Raspberry Pis has eased up at all, but for a while it was quite hard to get one from pretty much any Raspberry Pi retailer, and yeah. Let's hope that you can actually get one of these, because I personally definitely do want to get one, because it looks pretty cool. I mean, I've got a Pi 3, and I've also got a Pi 4, so it would be cool to get this new Pi. However, who knows if that will be practical. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's probably move on to the next story. So, in iPhone news, France has announced, the French authorities have announced that they will not recall the iPhone 12 after it turns out this new iOS update is actually good enough for the French regulators, because this apparently it's a modem limiting update, and this has eliminated France's concerns when it comes to the radiation emitted by the devices. So apparently, this update means that they'll no longer be recalling these iPhones. So I guess that's a win for Apple. But yeah, I don't know what this modem limiting update will actually mean for day-to-day use. Given, I don't know, it doesn't sound like a modem limiting update would be like good for the for like wireless connectivity. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have any clue, Pigus, on what a modem limiting
No, I
update
guess
might
it
do
would.
to them?
Yeah.
You guess it would.
I guess it would be like a reduce in quality or bandwidth or
Yeah. Yeah, so
but yeah.
maybe this won't be a good thing for many consumers, given that, of course, the radiation levels weren't enough to concern most regulators. Only the French and I don't remember, was it the Belgian? I don't remember. It was another European nation. Their authorities also were looking into the iPhone 12. However, apart from that, most regulators didn't have a problem with the iPhone 12. So maybe this update isn't worth it for some people. However, for Apple, of course, they want to continue selling this phone in France. So they will, of course, roll out this update, even if it slightly impacts performance, because it's better to sell things than not to sell them if you're a company. Anyway, let's move on to the Windows section. So some bad news for people who were on Windows 7 and now they want to activate Windows 11 or 10, because you can no longer activate Windows 11 or 10 with older Windows keys. So apparently there was a loophole to use Windows 7 keys to activate Windows 10 and 11. And this has existed since the free upgrade thing for Windows 7 and 8 users. So I remember early on with Windows 10, pretty much when it was released, they came out with a free upgrade, so you could upgrade for free from older Windows versions to 10. However, they've now closed this loophole that was a thing pretty much straight after the actual offer closed in 2016. However, I don't think there'll be that many Windows 7 users looking to upgrade to 11 or 10. But if they are, they're out of luck. Maybe they could just not activate Windows, although that isn't always the best option.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have any thoughts, Biggest, on you can no longer activate Windows 10 or 11 with these Windows 7 keys?
I mean, they said a long time ago they were supposed to do that, but they just haven't done it yet
Yeah.
until now.
Yeah.
So that's yeah.
It was almost like something that, you know, it wasn't said you could do it, but it wasn't said you couldn't do it. But now they've just closed the loophole without saying anything beforehand. So yeah. If you haven't migrated over yet, then that thing to help you migrate over is no longer a thing. So yeah. I mean, Windows 7 is already out of support, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. But didn't they in the beginning of the year release a new security update?
On Windows 7.
Yeah, I think they did some extended support.
That's probably just because. Is it because the exploit was so bad that they just updated it anyway or something? Because I know
Yeah,
XP got an
maybe.
update way later for the WannaCry exploit, the Eternal Blue exploit. And that was way out of support. That was in like 2017, and of course Windows XP ended supporting about, I think it was 2014. So that was way out of support. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. I've already pulled it up here on the stream. So Linux Mint 6 LMDE has been released. So Linux Mint Debian Edition is of course a Linux distro that's been around for quite a while now. It's the Debian-based alternative to the main Linux Mint distro, which the Linux Mint team maintain. So of course, main Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu. However, this version is based on Debian instead. So for those who prefer Debian, I mean, personally, I prefer Debian. This is a nice distro to be using. And they've now come out with this new release. I'll look at the release notes here. Apparently, it fixes some issues. I think I previously covered all of these when we were talking about the beta. However, now it's went into stable release, so you can now update safely to this new version of LMDE, and you don't have to worry about, lots of bugs, I guess. But yeah, do you ever use Linux Mint Piggy, or have you ever used it in the past?
I've used it slightly, just like booting from my USB, but I've never like installed it on a system.
Yeah, I quite like Linux Mint. It's quite a user-friendly one to use.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're trying to get somebody who's not really into Linux or not really into computers, more
Yeah.
to the point, to use Linux, then I think directing them to use Linux Mint is one of the
Mm.
best options you could be picking, because it's
Yeah.
user-friendly. It doesn't just give in to like Canonical's ideas of only using snaps, and overall it's a pretty good experience, and
Yeah.
it still keeps some of that community kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool, to be honest. And yeah, it's quite a widely used distro, so I'm quite a fan of Linux Mint. Also, Cinnamon is really nice. Anyway, let's continue on. From that thing to do with Linux Mint. In fact, just 1 second.
Okay, where do you want me to put this? I'll still go on there.
Wow.
You still there, Piers?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. um, that was just, yeah. Let's continue on to the next story. So, apparently an abandoned Apple Microsoft deal is now causing some problems for Google. So apparently, Microsoft reportedly tried to sell Bing to Apple, and the deal would have actually took Google search off iPhones. However, this deal never went through. But Microsoft were looking to sell the search engine to Apple, and if they had done that, then of course, Apple would have, Bing would have been the default for all the Apple devices. However, the US Justice Department is now using this to is now using the Google deal with Apple to actually make Google search the default search engine, a kind of example of how Google unfairly dominates the search engine space. So Google has had these kind of antitrust problems when it comes to their search engine for quite a while now. But this is just another thing. Yeah. Yeah, do you have any thoughts, Piggis, on Google getting in more trouble, I guess, than they were already in? Already quite a bit
No,
antitrust
it
wise.
just seems like typical Google stuff.
Yes. Excuse me.
But it's interesting, the deal with Microsoft and Apple.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected a deal like that. I thought, well, Apple did, Apple, of course, probably have thought about search engines because, they're one of the only players in the space which doesn't kind of, venture into search engines. But, of course, it might not have been a deal they were kind of looking for. Maybe Microsoft were asking for quite a bit for, Bing. I think Bing would actually probably be a better proposition now than it was previously, given the new Bing AI stuff, using ChatGPT. It's brought a bit more traffic to the platform, to the search engine. So yeah, I think although Bing still doesn't have much of a desktop share, it still doesn't have much of a search engine share, they are still quite a big search engine player. So yes, unless Piggis, you have anything else to add, then let's continue on. Okay, so moving on to a section I have not done before in this show. It's a section which, in fact, it's a section which, in fact, I've touched on stories to do with AI on this show before, but now I've dedicated an AI section. I probably should have stuck this story to do with the Apple Microsoft deal under the AI section. However, I didn't for some reason. Anyway, why don't we talk about the AI story this week? So ChatGPT now allows you to talk with it and allows you to submit pictures for prompts. So you can now actually talk with your voice to ChatGPT. So you can talk to it a bit like how you talk to Google Assistant or Alexa. However, now it will give you the feedback of OpenAI, which is, of course, a bit more extensive. However, you will have to pay for ChatGPT to get this feature. However, it will probably be quite a useful one if you want to communicate using your voice, because often that's a lot more handy. And also if you want to use pictures, because they can also be good prompts for AIs. But yeah, did you see this story, Piggis, before the show, or
No,
okay?
I have not. Mhm.
Do you use Chat
Interesting.
GPT at all?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, personally, I use it a small bit. I mean, I probably use Bing Chat more than I use Chat GPT, because but of course it's based on Chat GPT, so
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I've never used the Bing AI.
Yeah, you can talk to it on Skype. It's a very interesting use case there.
Yeah. Mm.
Often it won't limit how many conversations you have with it on Skype for some reason. So you know,
So
so you can kind of get
the reason to get Skype.
yeah, it's a loophole there. Um,
Hmm?
maybe they probably just want to encourage people to use Skype at this point. Anyway, nobody's using Skype anymore. But aside from maybe making international calls or something, you do get like, don't you get 3 minutes with Microsoft 365 to do like Skype calls or something? Yeah, I think you can.
No idea.
I think you can actually call like international numbers and stuff using Skype in like the US
Mm.
and stuff. I've used it to do that before, but that's one of the only uses I ever have for Skype.
Yeah.
Anyway, trying not to get sidetracked here. We're going to a Google story again. So finishing the Google section here. YouTube is killing a ad-free plan, which apparently, according to this article, you didn't know about. I mean, I don't know if you knew about it or not. I mean, Android authorities seem to think that you wouldn't know about this. But yes. But apparently they are discontinuing the YouTube Premium Lite offering. So apparently the YouTube Premium Lite plan was first piloted in 2021 in various European countries, and it cost you €6.99 a month compared to the YouTube Premium, which is 11. It's €11.99. So it was quite a bit cheaper. However, it did lack some of the premium perks like background playback, offline downloads, and a YouTube Music subscription. So really, I don't think this light plan would have really been worth it, given you wouldn't have got music, you wouldn't have got the background play. However, it is sad to see this budget option being killed off within these pilot European countries. I mean, I don't know what countries this was rolled out in, because it didn't roll out in the UK, and I don't really know aside from that. But the offering is no longer there, and it can be added to the very long list of killed by Google things. But yeah, Pigus, given that, yeah, do you know, did they have Premium Light in Sweden?
I have no idea because I haven't really looked into the premium stuff ever.
Yeah, sometimes it just bugs you by saying, hey, have you tried
Huh?
Premium? But
What?
sometimes YouTube just says, hey, have you thought about getting YouTube Premium? Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not really on YouTube that much, so.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue on with the next story. A bit of big tech, kind of beef or something. So Google is marketing, kind of against Apple here, kind of making fun of Apple. So Google are trying to shame Apple about, not adopting RCS and saying, why don't you just adopt RCS? So this kind of goes against the kind of Apple blue bubble, why don't you have a blue bubble thing. So I guess it kind of makes sense in a way as a kind of reverse marketing campaign. However, it says The name of this video, this advert, is called Meet the iPager. Help Apple. So clearly this is saying, I don't really know what this is saying. Is it saying that, like, if you use an iPhone, it's no better than, like, a pager or something? But yeah, apparently Google said if Apple were to adopt RCS, then they'll be joining the rest of the mobile industry that is committed to upgrading the cross-platform messaging experience for everyone. Now, RCS is a interesting standard. I mean, it's been implemented by a number of telecoms providers. It's been implemented by Google on messages. However, it hasn't been integrated into iMessage. So Google are having a quick jab at Apple here for that. But I don't really know what people think of RCS. I mean, personally, I use Signal, I use WhatsApp, session stuff, but I'm not a Google Messages user, so I don't really use RCS. However, I'm sure some people do, and I'm sure some people love it. What do you think, Pigus? I mean, it does seem a bit cheap, this marketing tactic, to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like, you know, maybe Google could do better by not doing this kind of Samsung type marketing where you have a little jab at Apple and then probably end up doing something that then makes you look bad or something. Because, like, I remember Samsung making fun of the iPhone not having a headphone jack, and then, like, they then just removed the headphone jack. So, you know, companies do this kind of marketing to kind of say, oh, Apple aren't doing this or whatever. So I kind of don't really like this kind of marketing. But of course, yeah. So what you saying?
Isn't RCS made by Google too?
Yes, it is.
So it feels, yeah.
It is an open standard, but it was also made by Google. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, so I would always be very.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I guess they are the main, like, developers of it.
Yeah, they are. So
So it's just like Android.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. Google, of course, as a publicly listed company, I mean, they of course want to make as much money as possible. So who knows what the intent of this really is? Because you know, of course, none of this is out of goodwill or whatever. But you know, this could be a standard that people could adopt, and maybe that would be beneficial to Google. However, it is probably better for people to be RCS messaging compared to adopting iMessage. However, you could just use a something like Signal, and then, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, but I guess it's a good, like, default option.
Yeah, it's a better default, I would say. However, apparently you can download an RCS messaging app on iPhone. You could apparently try Beeper, according to this article. So you can use RCS on iOS. You can try it out and talk to your Android friends. That's nice. Anyway, Epic Games have asked the Supreme Court of the United States to hear its case against Apple's App Store rules. So apparently, both Epic and Apple want to weigh in on their antitrust case. Apparently, they want the Supreme Court to weigh in on their antitrust case. So apparently, both of them have asked the Supreme Court to hear this case, and basically, this originally dates back to 2021, when basically there was a original antitrust lawsuit, and the ruling was in Epic's favor in 2021, and it meant that Apple had to remove policies banning developers from telling users about other payment options. So that was a win for Epic, and probably a win for most developers. However, apparently they now want to ask the Supreme Court about some of their accusations against Apple, and of course, taking it to the highest court in the US is quite big news. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with that. But yeah, what do you think about this? Because asking the Supreme Court to weigh in on this matter.
Not much.
Yes. Anyway, now some bad news on the gaming front. I was looking forward to this game. City Skylines 2 is being delayed for months on Xbox, and your PC may not be able to handle it either, according to Windows Central. So apparently it will launch on schedule on PC. However, they're still tweaking the console version. So there's some pretty beefy specs. You'll need the recommended specs. Oh, these are just recommended specs, but the recommended specs is you need a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080 or equivalent AMD card. It recommends 16 gigs of RAM and a Core i5 12600K. However, the minimum required specs is a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 970 with 4 gigs of VRAM, and apparently it also requires 8 gigs of RAM and at least an Intel Core i7 6700K. So yeah, so those are some pretty beefy specs to be recommending. I mean, not that many people out there have a NVIDIA RTX 3080. However, this is quite an intensive game. I mean, it does look graphically pretty amazing. However, of course, they're going to try and delay this game until spring 2024 on console, just so they can optimize things and fix and make it run better on this on the Xbox Series X and PS5, because this is a pretty intensive game. However, I hope it does come out, because I have been looking forward to this game. I mean, I really enjoyed the original City Skylines, allowing you to build your own city and, try and make a profitable city and make a city that's kind of thriving. However, with this new game, it looks a lot more graphically kind of pleasing. However, we'll just have to wait and see what this game is like on console, because it's not coming out until spring of next year. Yeah, so a bit of a disappointment there. Anyway, continuing on to the miscellaneous news. So one piece of miscellaneous news from this week is AMC Plus is now getting an ad-supported tier in the US, because of course AMC Plus is a thing in the US, and that it will cost $4.99 per month, and will apparently deliver the same content library as that $8.99 a month subscription. However, you will have to deal with adverts, although apparently they say it will have a light ad load. So who knows what that'll exactly mean. But it does mean that if you want to put down a small bit less money, actually quite a bit less money, a full $4 less a month, then you can watch some interesting programs such as The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Dark Winds, and Interview with a Vampire, as well as classics like Mad Men. All of which I haven't watched. But yeah, you can watch these on this streaming service. So if you want to get it for a bit cheaper, then I guess here's your opening. Anyway, let's continue on to the WhatsApp new AI assistant. So Meta's new AI assistant is being added to WhatsApp to answer your questions. And yeah, apparently this is through a partnership with Bing. So apparently it will actually use Bing search. But this will be integrated into WhatsApp as well as Instagram and Facebook. And this is Meta's new AI. So they're bringing it in the US only to start with, but they'll probably roll it out to other markets soon. But yeah, I don't really know how to feel about a Meta AI, to be honest. But yeah, but I guess it will be interesting to see what it's like.
Everyone wants to do their own AI now.
Yeah, it's a hot new thing. Although it's actually, out of all of the trends, to be honest, this is quite a productive one. Anyway.
Yeah.
Continuing on, so Reddit is apparently forcing you to use personalized ads, starting an X-like user payment program. So apparently they want to, quote-unquote, improve ad performance, and apparently they're going to do this by giving away user privacy controls to make it more profitable effectively, and apparently they will now force personalized ads on the platform. However, there is this new program called the Contributor Program, launching only in the US to start with, where users with 100 to 4,999 karma can earn 90 cents per gold received, and users with over 5,000 karma can receive $1 per gold received. And apparently you can now pay for gold to reward others. So this is a interesting idea when it comes to the contributor program. However, we're seeing this with many other platforms trying to offer ways to kind of incentivize usage, and I don't really know how successful they are. But this is a cool thing if you're on Reddit. I mean, I don't remember how many karma I have now. Probably something like 9,000, I think. So, yeah. I haven't used Reddit in a while. But this is some changes to the platform. I mean, it's sad to see the ad changes, because Reddit for quite a long time has had quite a kind of more open approach to things. They've kind of, previously they have an open source base, although they then made that proprietary, and then they started implementing more measures for advertisement. So overall, they've moved in a more big tech direction, which I don't really like, and a more ad-focused direction. However, I guess that's just the way things have gone. How do you feel about this, Biggest?
Well, I don't really use Reddit at all.
Mm-hmm.
I have like one karma.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's continue on to the last story, given that I think we talked a bit enough about this one. So now, this is one that actually covers the UK, so that's cool, I guess. So the Apple Wallet is now adding some exclusive UK features. So I actually, apparently you can now, use your card with Apple Wallet, and you can apparently see the balance and the full transaction history for your account. Although it will open a prompt to log in to your bank. However, it is a kind of cool feature if you can connect your account and view things within the Apple Wallet app. I mean, this one here was showing a Lloyd's bank account, so that's quite a big bank here in the UK. So that's Club Lloyd's, so clearly that's the card they're using. But this is a pretty cool feature. I mean, it's nicer to be able to just use it within the app. I mean, you could argue all the walled garden stuff. I mean, like, oh yes, you'd just be accessing everything through an Apple portal. However, if you do like Apple Wallet, this is just a nice other feature, so you don't have to log on manually to the bank's website or the banking app, and you can just do it straight within the wallet app. Also, apparently, they bought a firm called Credit Kudos, or Kudos, and apparently, they have changed. Apparently, that firm is now owned by Apple Payment Services Limited. So clearly, that's Apple. But this may be a result. This new feature may be a result of that acquisition. Anyway, that's it. I think. So see you guys in the next one. I think we've covered all the stories. Do you want to say goodbye, Piggers?
Bye.
Goodbye. Anyway, guys, until the next one, you can join the Discord, of course, to discuss things. You can like, subscribe, and share. Check me out on Odysee and all that stuff. And see you in the next one.